In this video, I'm going to show you how we helped an organization save around 1 day a week through an AI-assisted invoice processing. Okay, so I'm going to start with the use case. So the use case is around this invoice classification. We were working with an estate agency. And the organization is fairly large in the area that they operate in. And as an estate agency, they were responsible for processing invoices from suppliers to their clients and their landlords. And through our discovery, we understood that it took about 1 to 2 minutes per invoice. Now, when trying to understand if this is ripe for automation, we wanted to understand the volume of invoices that were coming through per day or per week. So what we understood was there was around about 250 invoices, and they have about 50 clients in which they need to take the supplier's invoices and match it to the relevant property and client for them to ensure that those clients and customers and landlords were paying that bill. In total, it took around about 4 to 8 hours a week of their time to process these invoices. So when we dove a lot deeper into their actual processes, we understood there was 1 or 2 individuals who were responsible for this process. And what they would do is they'll go to Outlook, check the emails. When they would check the emails, they will have a condition in their mind of obviously if this is email to do with an invoice. If it's not, they will continue processing that email in a different way. If it is to do with an invoice, then they would take that particular invoice, download the attachment, and review the invoice to check which customer, which property that it belongs to. Once they understood that, they then would go to SharePoint and place that particular invoice attachment into a folder that was for that property and for the faculty, for the facilities manager or the property manager to go in and review the invoice and break the schedule down. So the job of this particular process owner was only to place it into the folder where the FM or the PM would go in and review. Once they had done that, they will go back to the email and then they would move that email into the actions folder. And that will be the end of that particular flow. What we wanted to do is understand how and where AI would come in and where and how automation would come in. And when we're looking at this, we're asking ourselves the question, where is the thinking happening? And what we understood was there are 3 main areas of this flow where thinking is happening. The first is this an actual invoice? So the AI would need to understand, does this particular document or attachment relate to an invoice? So if it's a contract, it shouldn't pick it up and process it, but if it's an invoice, it should. So that's the first model that we wanted to look at. The second then is to actually download the information of that invoice and then understand, does this particular invoice belong to a client that is in the list of clients that the estate agency has, that they would typically send that for that client to pay that invoice or for the FM or the PM to then approve. Once we've done that, then the AI needs to come in and say, okay, yes, it is this client, it is this property, and then they will need to go into SharePoint and place that particular file or invoice into that particular folder. So the 3 key things on all automations that we look at is what automation tool would we be using, what AI tools or services would we be using, and what connectors are important for the flow. So for the automation, since this organization works on the Microsoft stack, we went with Power Automate, a no-code automation software. From the AI standpoint, we used Azure AI Foundry and OpenAI's model to help extract the information from the invoice and also to ensure if the document is an invoice. And then the connectors were very simple: SharePoint and Outlook. The solution itself from a flow looks like this. So the trigger would be the new email coming in from Outlook within a shared inbox. Once that email comes through, the first thing that happens here is the AI checks if this email is to do with an invoice and if the document attached is an invoice. If the answer is no, it leaves the email in the inbox for the process owner to actually attend to. If it is an invoice, then it moves on to the second thing, which is the AI reviews the invoice against a client's list and checks, does that client list exist in that particular, or does a client in the list exist in that invoice? And if the answer is no, then it will leave that particular invoice in the inbox. If the answer is yes, then the next stage is to take that document and place it into the right SharePoint folder or the property folder belonging to that client. And then once that's done, it will then go back to the email and then move that particular email into the actions folder. So what I'm going to do is show you an example of the invoice. So you can see it here. So this is just a demo invoice. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of information here. You have a few things. You have a couple of addresses. You have the name of the supplier. So Senatel Security Services Limited, who are a supplier providing an invoice for services that they provided. Then you have some more addresses. You have another name called Horizon Estates Limited, property Marina Tower. You also have another company called D2 Real Estate, an address here. So there's a lot of information here. So it's important for the AI to know what it should focus on before processing it. And that's a key component of this workflow. So now, before showing you the process of how it works, I'm just going to jump in and share with you a couple of things on the setup. So the first thing I want to share with you is the SharePoint site. So in the SharePoint site, what we have here is the clients list. So what we did is we added all the clients here. So obviously this is a demo. They had a lot more. With the client's name here and the property that that client is associated with, and the property folder name, which was actually different. So you have here Horizon Estates Limited, Marina Tower, and the folder name is Marina Tower. So that's basically the knowledge base, if you like, for the AI to know that for Horizon Estates Limited, then it should go into the Marina Tower folder. So if we go to Documents and we go to Invoices to be approved, we see a location, and here, let's say Jersey, and we see Marina Tower, and we would expect the invoice to be processed here once it is received by email. So let's go in and do an example. So this is an example of the shared inbox that we have, and I'm going to just send an email from here. So I'm going to click here and just type in Blue Llama T2RE and then invoice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm just going to grab that invoice from here, and I'm just going to say, please process invoice for payment, and then I'm going to click send. Okay, great. We can now see the email has come through, and what we're going to do is it will take about maybe 20 seconds for the Power Automate to trigger the flow. So what's going to happen is that this email will then go into the action folder. So that's the first expectation we have. And the second expectation is when we go to the SharePoint, it will go into the invoice to Jersey, and then we will go into Marina Tower, and we should see the invoice here, which we have. So it's already in there a few seconds ago. And if I go back into the Outlook, you will see that this is now in the action as we expect. So it's gone into the action folder, processed, -IC stands for processed invoice classification. So it's done its job there. Then we go to our AI ROI dashboard to provide a report to the client for them to understand the value of the automation. So here's how we do it. So we go to task title. We have invoice classification is the main thing that we're working on. And we understand there is about 250 invoices per week. It currently takes about, let's say, 90 seconds, say in between 1 minute and 2 minutes. And an employee's labor, maybe let's say £25 an hour. And we can see, okay, 6 hours per week, a monthly 27 hours, and then over a year, you can see that, and we can total the cost. Now, with the automation, we can see here, it takes 9 seconds, and the software license we're using is Power Automate, and that costs about, say, 15 quid a month, and the AI token cost, it would be probably even less, but let's say £5 a month. Okay, so here we scroll down and we assess the comparison between before automation, which is costing about £8,000 a year, and with automation it's 240. So you can see the impact summary here based on a chart, and also the breakdown between time saved and cost impact. So you're saving about 7,800 per year through this automation. So that allows you to assess the impact over time. And then you can also download this as a report as well. So we can open that. And if we wanted to share this with any stakeholders, we can share this with stakeholders as well. I hope you have found this use case useful for you to understand how you can apply AI-assisted workflows within invoice classification, saving close to a day a week of time. Thank you very much for watching this video.